Guys, good to be back with you again this week, and this is one of our foundational simplicity principles videos this week. And I wanted to go back to basics because I don't think in this conversation you can go back to basics enough. So that's really what I wanted to do today, because what I've started seeing for myself more and more and more and more is that we can often get caught up in trying to see our thinking as thinking, or trying to analyze our experience, or trying to deal with the just day-to-day life behavior feelings that we're up against, right? So I don't like these behaviors that I do. I don't like it that I procrastinate. I don't like it that I sit at my desk too much. I don't like it that I'm busy all the time. I don't like it that I feel stressed and anxious. I don't like it that I feel like I've got to get my next stimulation fix, right? And we can focus a lot on our behaviors and on our feelings. But what I've started to see so much more is, and I've drawn this little diagram, right, that I wanted to share with you. So what happens in our experience is, this is what happens when we're in a good state of mind, when things are flowing, right? Like our thinking pops into our heads and off it goes again. Okay, this is the natural way that thought is designed to work. Whoop, 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 whoop. Right, in, out, off it goes. But when we start getting ourselves in a tears about anything, all that's going on is we have some thinking that comes into our head. We whirl that thinking up into a massive, great big thought storm, which we take seriously. It looks compelling, it looks real. And then from that, whatever's going on up here that looks real to us, that determines what we then go out, what we feel, and what our behaviors are as a result. Okay, so if we have a lot of big scary thinking about a project and it looks really huge and overwhelming, then we're going to have the feelings of overwhelm, right? And our behaviors are going to be procrastination and avoidance and all that kind of thing, right? And if we have the feelings that we need to be busy all the time and that there's not enough and we need to make more money, and we feel that sense of urgency and striving and driving forward, that's going to result in feelings of like that. And it's gonna result in behaviors like complete overwork, right? So sometimes what we can think when we start to understand this conversation is that we need to kind of get in here somehow and deal with this. And that can become the kind of focus of our conversation, the focus of our efforts and our intentions. When we start to understand that thought is creating these behaviors, we start to look a little more upstream and we go, okay, it's my thinking. And when we think it's our thinking that needs tackling, that results in certain feelings and behaviors as well, where we start trying to positively reframe stuff, or we start trying to distract ourselves, or trying to tell ourselves it's just our thinking, right? And you all know how helpful that is, right? But what I want to encourage you to do, and what I realized had been happening, is like my focus had kind of pulled to this as well. But I have so seen the value recently in actually looking further upstream than any of this. But when we're looking in this direction, that's what I mean by looking in this direction, to how our experience gets created. From where does this come? What is mind? What is thought? What is consciousness? And the more that I get to understand and look in this direction, the more I start to see that I'm made of this. So it becomes less relevant what's going on here, because who cares, right, when I'm made of this? And also, when I look here, when I look to this, all of this takes care of itself. Nothing I need to do. There's always less to do than you think. This is how to do less a lot better, right? It's like I find I don't need to get in here and manage thought storms. I just have less of them. And they last a shorter amount of time, and I wake up quicker. And when I'm not lost in thought, my feelings and my behaviors are just healthier. They're not a product of this. There's just less of this here. So this just becomes naturally flowing, more easy, more productive, more efficient in the work that I'm doing. This is all taken care of, more of an understanding that you have of this. So that's what I want to talk about today. Back to basics, right? What is this? And so, you know, I go into this topic every now and again, and I like to revisit it because it just, as I see more, it changes and it looks different to me. So I just wanted to kind of revisit where I am today in terms of, you know, what do I see to be true about the principles? And what I see to be true about the principles is that, well, I'll just describe it how I see it right now, is that there's this formless, benign yet intelligent, formless energy that's, you know, so I almost feel like it's up here in the sky, right? It's not, but this isn't the way that I'm seeing it at the moment. And but it's around us and it's everywhere, and in fact it's not in the sky, it's in everything. It's in this piece of paper, it's in my sofa I'm sitting on, it's in the air that's next to my face, it's what my face is made of, it's what my teeth are made of, it's what my heart and my lungs are made of, it's what my soul is made of. Like, in a physical sense, it's what everything is made of. But it also makes up, like, my soul and my being and my thinking and my everything comes from this one energy, and that's mind. And this energy has an intelligence to it, a wisdom to it, and it shows up in various different ways. So it's the thing that means that when you cut your finger, it heals. It's the thing that beats my heart. It's the thing that made me from lying on the floor to crawling to standing to walking to going through all the changes of puberty to growing babies to getting older and having some wrinkles, right? It's like, it's the thing that's taken care of all of those things at approximately the timeline that it has, right, for all of us. And it's also the thing that gives me common sense, like that I know what to do, that I start to know things. So I start to know that when I'm a baby, I don't know that this thing is my hand, right? And then all of a sudden I look at it and I realize that this is my hand and it can do things. Like, nobody teaches me that in school. It happens before I can speak. But there's an intelligence, there's a common sense, there's the thing that lets me know that this is my hand will continue to let me know various things as I move through my life, right? Like, it's taken care of. But I don't have to worry about those things. I don't have to organize them. I don't have to figure them out. I don't have to plan them. Like, that is an unfolding of common sense and wisdom. Like, that's how mind comes through me as a body. And it's also, to me, it feels like that there is a greater intelligence behind the system. And I know that, this is the knowing that I have, is that this formless thing wants to experience itself in form. And it has to use human beings to do so. So it creates the thought of Nick. And then suddenly there's this thought, there's this experience of Nick that I have a consciousness of. And then through this thing, it can create pottery or painting or businesses or art or music or song or whatever. And it's like, I'm going to create a Nick to grow businesses. I'm going to create a Nick who can do websites. I'm going to create a Donna who can do, it's going to be like, I want to see beautiful yoga forms. I'm going to create a Milana who can do amazing music. I'm going to create a Ginny who can create books out of thin air. Like, how, oh, it gives me goosebumps, right? But like, how cool is that? That we're just a vessel through which mind can pour, and then we create things in the world of form. I just think that's so cool. And I know that the more I get out of the way of that, the more that's able to flow through me, come through my fingertips, and I can create amazing things in this world. And when I think about consciousness, what comes to me with that is, consciousness is the very thing that gives me awareness of being a human being. It's the thing that allows me to experience my thinking. It's the thing that when I have my thinking, it gives feelings alongside that. It's like the colour to my thought is what consciousness is. And alongside that consciousness of myself and my experience is also my consciousness, my understanding of how the system works. So when we're talking about having a jump in our level of consciousness through this conversation, what we're talking about is having a deeper understanding of how the system works, having a deeper sense of the fact that we're a vessel for mind, that we're made of mind, right? The more deeper sense I get of that, that's a deeper level of consciousness, it's a deeper level of awareness. And it means I show up in life differently the more I see about how the system works. And finally, thought. Now, to me, it feels like thought is the thing that floats above here. Like, it's impersonal. There's a gazillion thought, right, with a capital T, that's kind of floating in this big sea. It's not, but you know, that's in my head. And from this thought comes, like, to me it feels like almost like a thread of personal thinking. As soon as it gets in my head, it's my personal thinking now. It's kind of Nick flavored, right? But it arrives, it travels through my head, and then it goes off back into the formless again. So this is my thinking, like thought with a little t, right? My personal thought. And there's infinite thought with big T up here in this formlessness, and it comes down, comes through and goes out. And sometimes it comes down and I have very little understanding. I just experience that as real and off it goes. With a deeper level of consciousness, a thought comes into my head, and another thought comes in that allows me to think, hang on a minute, I don't have to go with that thought. I don't have to pay attention to that thought if it's one I don't like. And there's something in that helps it move through faster. And the more my thought is flowing through, the more it's doing this, the better experience of life that I have. And the more it's doing that, the less interference it's got with all this stuff that's trying to come out through mind. And that's what I see, like this is static, this is like friction that stops the flow of what's going on, like of how mind wants to show up through us. And I see the more I get a sense for what's going on here, like the more I get a feel for the impersonal nature of thought, the more I get a feel for my thoughts occur to me, they're nothing to do with me, I'm not in control of them, I don't have to change or manipulate them, that it's not on me, I'm just the recipient of thought, right? The more I see that, the more I get a feel for the space and the beauty and the clarity and the just the richer feelings that come with knowing that mind has got my back. That, to me, the more I see that more deeply and get a feel for it and see it for myself with my own eyes and experience it, feel it in my bones, have a knowing of it, that's taken care of. Like, I don't need to worry about that. I just want to see this more deeply. That's what I am interested in right now. And I see that when I'm getting caught up in all my thinking, I just wake up to the fact, another thought arrives to me, hang on, not this way, but I want to look in this direction. And that's what I want to encourage you to reflect on this week from this week's video. So share your thoughts in the Facebook group as ever, and I look forward to seeing what lands with you from today's video.